like a metal box where if you put ice, it kept it cool.
Started out as wood, I believe, actually.
And now it's plastic.
Oh, sure.
So.
Well, that's not called it's not called an ice block box anymore. It's now called a cooler, but
something like that.
Yes. So, and even then, ice boxes were more of a thing you'd find in wealthy homes, not. Ice cream was a rare treat for people because people just didn't really have the means to keep things that cold. And so, yeah, a cave like that would have been how you kept stuff cold.
All right.
And people shop differently because, if you needed beef, for example, or any kind of meat, you'd go get what you needed that day because you didn't have any way to preserve it.
Right.
So, one of the housewife's duties might be to go shopping, and she would go every morning and get the food for all the meals.
Well, that would make sense.
So.
You can't just keep it in a freezer to keep it fresh and all day, can you?
Exactly. So. Things were very different then. That was back in a time when people talked about woman's work and stuff like that.
Some people still do.
Some people are dumb.
It's quite not cool. I've been watching some videos about how people are treated because they look different or act different than other people. It's just not cool.
And no, it's not.
Originally, it may have been okay back then. It's not anymore. So I would like to kind of lower it down here. If you are on this podcast and you are listening and you feel bad about yourself in any sort of way, just keep in mind that I am weird in every sort of way. Yeah, like the rest of the file.
Yeah, we're not weird at all. Recording a podcast called Family Plot. Nope, not us. Not weird.
Not us being... Okay, here's my thing. I am very obviously weird because I'm a girly girl. Well, that's not too weird. I'm also a furry, and I like anime. So that's all kind of things that people would consider weird put together. I'm kind of just a weird person. You just gotta accept that from me.
Well, you're my favorite weird person, and I love you.
Well, thank you. All right, back on to this. Sorry, I'm blabbering.
So, Johann Lemp had created this lager, this beer, and eventually he called the company that provided it the Western Brewing Company, and it continued to prosper, and by the 1850s was one of the largest in the city. In 1858, the beer captured first place at the annual St. Louis Fair.
Oh! Something we've talked about.
Exactly. It does tie into your facts fairly nicely.
Yeah.
Adam was a millionaire by the time of his death. In fact, the Western Brewing Company became the biggest outside of New York and the only one outside of New York to bottle as much beer as it was. So it was a pretty big deal.
That's expensive.
Adam Lemp died on August 25th, 1862, and his son William began a major expansion of the brewery. He purchased a 5-block area around the storage house on Cherokee above the lagering caves. In 1864, a new plant was completed at Cherokee Street and Carondelet Avenue. Continually expanding to meet the product demand, the brewery eventually covered 5 city blocks. By the 1870s, the Lemp family symbolized both wealth and power as the Lemp Brewery controlled the St. Louis beer market, a position it maintained until Prohibition, which was 1920s.
A few questions here.
Sure.
Just to let the viewers outside know, because I may know it, you guys may know it, but what if some of the younger...
Krysta, ask away.
What is a brewery? Now listen close, people.
Brewery is a business that brews usually beer, but sometimes it can be other things. They might brew lager, they might brew, especially today with microbreweries, they can brew a whole variety of things. But usually it's alcoholic beverages of some kind.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Now, Prohibition, do you know about that?
That's what I was going to ask next.
Prohibition, in the 1920s, a movement gathered steam that basically said drinking was bad and that the people who did it, more often than not, engaged in bad acts. And so to prevent the public from doing bad things, they banned the sale of alcohol. And really, while they said it was banned, the country never stopped selling alcohol. Alcohol moved from bars and taverns to places called speakeasies.
Speakeasies.
Yeah, speakeasies.
And moonshines.
So a speakeasy was like...
Yeah, you don't really speak real easy after you have a couple drinks, you know.
Well, it was called that because you'd go into like a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd tell them, I want to go in the back room. And that was the code for, I want to go in the bar. And so, but you spoke easy, you spoke quietly to tell the proprietor what you wanted.
Reminds me of, I'm watching Hunter x Hunter, so it reminds me of, reminds me of when three applicants went into the room and they got to the hunter's training.
Right. So it was called a speakeasy because you spoke easy to get in.
Right.
Now, that was also the time of bathtub gin because people would make gin in their own bathtubs.
I hope they didn't bathe in it because that would be...
No, they just drank
disgusting.
They just drank it.
It's like... Because that is sort of like how making a sundae in a toilet.
Yeah, kind of. And then also people made moonshine, but that practice had been actually going on for a while, and actually it continues to this day.
That reminds me of moon pies, I think they're called.
Okay, moonshine, moon pie is very different things and have very different effects. You know, moon pie is going to give you maybe a sugar rush for a few minutes. Moonshine is going to get you drunk.
Okay.
Fast.
Well, yeah.
Very high alcohol,
I figured it was like alcohol and stuff. I just heard the name reminded me of what it was, what I was thinking of, so I just wanted to put it out there.
In fact, there are companies that now sell basically moonshine-inspired drinks because they won't make real moonshine, but they'll make moonshine-inspired.
Oh yeah, that's probably kind of dangerous. If you have a couple drinks of that, you're probably gonna go to the hospital.
No, it's just moonshine is alcohol usually made by a family or something, and they don't have permits or whatever. They just make it, and then the government comes in and wants, you know, what they used to call back in the day, revenuers would come in and try to shut these stills down because these people weren't paying their taxes and they still do it to this day. It's really like a family thing, and it goes back a long ways. But yeah, that's kind of where it got its start, though, was during the 1920s and Prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
So, it also led to the rise of organized crime. The mob loved Prohibition because it gave them a product that they could move and people would buy.
Hmm. All right.
So, in 1868, Joseph Feckert, William Lemp's father-in-law, built a house a short distance from the Lemp Brewery. In 1876, William Lemp purchased the house for his family, utilizing it as both a residence and an auxiliary office.
What's an auxiliary?
Backup.
A backup.
Okay, thank you.
While the home was already impressive, Lemp immediately began renovating and expanding the 33-room house into a Victorian showplace.
A 33-room?
Oh, it's bigger now.
He wasn't quite big enough for him at 33 rooms.
Oh, yeah. No way. Not like we would know. Our 3 different room, 1 bathroom house, you know. Just keep going.
Now, from the mansion, a tunnel was built from the basement through the caves to the brewery. When mechanical refrigeration became available, parts of the cave were converted for other purposes, including a natural auditorium and a theater, which is still in operation.
Fancy.
Ooh.
By the way. Now, this underground oasis would later spawn a large concrete swimming pool with hot water piped in from the brewery boiling house and a bowling alley. At one time, the theater was accessible by way of a spiral staircase from Cherokee Street.
Wow, fancy.
So, we're talking a nice place.
Yeah.
I mean, I would kill to move you guys in tomorrow.
Let's not go getting crazy about it. But
look, if you put a knife in my hand and a person in front of me said, kill him, you can move in, I probably wouldn't, because I'd have to overcome that urge not to kill that I have 99% of the time, unless I'm driving in traffic. But other than that, I'm just saying, it'd be nice, and I would love that for you guys.
See, here's my thing about that. If you put a knife in my hand, a person in front of me, and say, either kill him or watch anime for the rest of your life. Wouldn't care about the guy, just yank, frick your knife, disintegrate it, you piece of trash, I'm gonna go watch anime.
Okay.
Now, in the middle 1890s, the Lemp Brewery gained national prominence after introducing the popular Falstaff beer, which I mentioned before. It's still brewed today, in fact, by another company, and is not nearly as well known as it once was. Mm-hmm. The Lemp Western Brewery, boy, whoo, try to say that and have it mean something. Okay. The Lemp Western Brewery was the first brewer to establish coast-to-coast distribution of its beer. At the same time, he was building his own business empire. William Sr. also helped Pabst, Pabst, Anheuser, and Busch get started. So these companies that we know today,
Russian name.
They're actually German.
Oops.
Germany is famous for the brewing of its beer. In fact, Oktoberfest starts in Germany, and that's a big... I'm not sure what it's a celebration of, but what it has become is the international beer drinking competition. Held in Germany, and lightweights need not apply, which is why I will never go. I am not a big drinker, not my thing. I'm not a big fan of altered consciousness. What? Why is everybody looking at me?
Why are you lying?
I'm not a lion. I'm not an alien big cat or a phantom cat.
Why are you lying?
Okay, anyway, go back to Lemp Mansion. I ain't got time for you.
Okay. It was around this time that the Lemp family began to experience what I consider its downfall. William Sr. had planned to leave the business to his son, Frederick Lemp. Now, Frederick had always been sort of sickly and never had been in good health. Died of heart failure at the age of 28 in 1901. This was a huge loss to William Sr.
Oh, well, of course.
It devastated him, and he was never the same. He sort of began a slow withdrawal. He was rarely seen in public after his son's death. And then, just 3 years later, William's closest friend, Frederick Pabst, also died.
Oh, it must be harsh.
And so William he stopped running the brewery. He still arrived at the office each day, but he was nervous and unsettled. His physical and mental health began to decline on February 13th, 1904, he shot himself in the head with a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson.